Are you a Christian songwriter wishing you could be heard by the right people in Nashville? Yeah, we get it. You've been writing for years, but you have no idea how to be heard, how to get your songs out there, or how to connect your talent with opportunities. You feel stuck and wonder if you'll ever get a real break. NCS Bootcamp is your chance to be heard by taking your songwriting to a level you've only dreamed of. It gives you hands-on, personalized coaching and mentoring to help you think and write like a professional Christian songwriter determined to impact the world with your songs. If you're ready to empower your songwriting dreams, go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com/bootcamp to book your free songwriting breakthrough strategy call today. Become the songwriter you were born to be with NCS Bootcamp.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisum, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Hey everybody, John Chisum here. Welcome to the Song Revolution podcast this week. You know, this is one of my favorite things that I get to do. We do a lot of different things here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. We work very, very hard to bring a lot of excellent free content for people who are just, no offense, but, there's a lot of times people just don't feel like they want to pay for stuff, but they still want to be involved and feel like they're getting valuable content. And so we put out a ton of valuable content. We think it's valuable anyway. It would have helped me as a young songwriter. And the primary thing that we do is this podcast. I mean, we're in I think this is the 68th episode, which is absolutely crazy. We started last April 1. We're almost to 45,000 downloads, and we've had some of the most tremendous people on. I've made great new friends by doing this podcast. And I think it represents our heart very, very well, because people get to hear from me. They get to hear from our friends, great industry influencers, people that we know and love. A lot of artists are coming on the show, which is fantastic. Just recently, I did a podcast with Chris McClarney, who's got a new record coming out. And I don't know if you know Chris's work, but Your Love Never Fails, huge, huge song. And we've had Tim Timmons, Jenny Owens, Audrey Assad, huge podcast episode with Audrey. That was one of my favorite because I love them all. Who else? Sandra McCracken. I just lost his name. I think Zach Williams, who's a new Grammy Award winner. Just crazy great people. Plus wonderful industry influencers, publishers, producers, record company people. And so we're committed to bringing you excellent episodes each and every week, as long as the Lord will allow. And we think He's going to keep on allowing us, at least for a while. And so we're going to keep bringing you wonderful things to encourage you through the Song Revolution podcast. And what you can do for us is share it out. Share these episodes out to your musical circles, to the musicians and the writers in your church, in your town, wherever you are. You can really do us a big favor if you're enjoying the Song Revolution podcast, and that is to share out these episodes. Also, if you could go over to iTunes and make a comment, give us a 5-star rating, and put in the reviews what it is you like about our podcast, and that helps our ratings go up with iTunes. We're available on many digital outlets such as YouTube. You can go to YouTube and like and comment as well. Only if you're going to be nice. Don't comment. Don't be snarky and trolly like people are sometimes. But you can go over there and leave us a comment and give us a thumbs up and like us, and that will help us. We're a small company. We haven't been around all that long, even though I've been in and out of the music business, songwriting, producing, A&R, etc., publishing, for over 30 years. Our company is new. We've really only been around for about 2.5 years. And so it's amazing to me what God has allowed us to do and to have the presence that we have. If you don't know it by now, you ought to know that we exist to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. And so far, it's happening. We have our Facebook group called Successful Christian Songwriters, which is a free group. You have to ask to be in it, but we let anybody in until you act up and then you're kicked out. But we have over 5,000 people from all over the world, and it's a very active group. We have hundreds of people that post in that group. It's extremely active. We have over 10,000 likes, whatever that's worth, on our Facebook page, which some of you are watching on the Facebook page. So I think it's this computer that I'm looking at. I'm actually broadcasting right now Facebook Live to 3 different groups while I record this podcast. If you're just listening to the podcast, that's what's going on here in my office while we're doing this. And so we have a ton of things going on, from free up to our NCS membership, which is $16.99 a month. And we're offering a masterclass for our members every month. Now, you can't go out and buy a masterclass in songwriting for $16.99 a month. But with us, you can, plus all the other benefits, discounts, song critiques, which we don't offer anywhere else. We've actually taken those off our store offering. The only way that you can get song critiques from us anymore is by joining NCS membership, because I don't even like song critiques. I think song critiques are awful. I think the only way you're going to really grow as a songwriter is if you get a really good coach, if you really get into some great resources, and you get some immediate feedback from people rather than depending on $30 song critiques to grow your career. I just don't even believe in it. So we took those off, but I still offer those for our NCS members. And then our NCS Weekend Intensive. We have our 3rd one coming up, June 21 through 23, with A-listers that we've already been talking about, from Centricity Music, Integrity Music, Lifeway Music, Tom Jackson Productions, and Jenny Owens and Cindy Morgan Brower. Hey, it's just incredible. It's our live event here in Nashville. So if you're interested in that, you better jump over and check it out, and hope to see you this time or next time. And then we also have an 8-week intensive boot camp, and the only way you get into that is by talking to me. So if you're interested, shoot me an email at john@nashvillechristiansongwriters.com, and we'll talk about it. So anyway, that's all the commercials for this episode right now. Let's jump into our content. So this is part 5 of a series that I've been teaching called Writing Hit Hooks. And today we're going to be talking about simplicity. And you can find an article, a complete feature-length article on writing hit hooks in this magazine. I'm holding it up for the people watching me on Facebook, and it's called GTR. They don't even publish it in paper form any longer, but it's online. You can go to GEARTECH REC, had to think about it for a minute, geartechrec.com. And it's a pretty classy high-end magazine, and it's not necessarily aimed at the Christian market. And so I'm actually in this, this was from last September, and I'm in here with Metallica's Kirk Hammett, Alan Parsons Project, 25th Street Recording, and Megan Trainor, all about that bass, which is one of the most phenomenal hooks ever, by the way. So in this article called Writing Hit Hooks, I want to recap just a little bit of it for you in case you haven't heard the other episodes, and kind of recap where we've been on this and catch you up for the final little installment here on simplicity. So if you've been writing songs for more than a week, you know that there are key ingredients. There is a higher level of songwriting than just writing your feelings, putting a little simple melody and a few simple little words and calling it a song. Sure, it's a song. Does God love it? Sure, he loves it. God loves the songs, the little heart songs of a child. And he loves the songs of the Alzheimer's patient. He loves the songs of those who are mentally challenged. He loves all of our songs. But does that mean they're going to be heard worldwide? Probably not, but that's okay, right? So just whatever you're writing for, just realize that there are higher levels of songwriting that you can grow to. And that's why we exist. That's probably why you're watching, I would imagine, but that's what we do. So I wanted to recap this a little bit and give you some, people call them tips. You guys, I don't even believe in tips, tricks, and hacks. I feel like if you're looking for tips, tricks, and hacks, that you're not a dedicated songwriter. You're looking for shortcuts. You're looking for ways to jump, over mountains, without really learning how to drill through these things to the point where you become an excellent songwriter. If you're looking for shortcuts, you probably lack the discipline to become an amazing songwriter. It takes a long time. It takes discipline and years, and it takes this dedication to become a great songwriter. And the greatest songwriters I know are the men and women who are so dedicated to it that they write every day. Whether they're getting songs recorded or not, they're writing every single day. And that's how you know if you're a songwriter. Are you writing songs? But now that you are a songwriter, let's ramp it up. Let's take it up as many levels as we can. Now, when it comes to tips and tricks and hacks, I really call those principles, okay? This is what you really need. You need great principles for songwriting. You need a base philosophy from which to write your songs. And this is what I've learned over my 35 years when I was at Star Song Music and I was mentored by Bill and Gloria Gaither, Gary McSpadden, Ron Griffin, some other amazing people. I learned a lot from other songwriters who were around during that day, Chaz Bosarge, a bunch of other, Dwight Lyles, amazing people that were songwriters at Star Song back when I was managing the writers there. And then when I went on to Integrity Music, I learned so much from Don Moen, from great writers like Linda Shazo and Gary Sadler, Paul Balash, just learned and was able to really develop the core principles, the foundation of great songwriting that I'm bringing to you through NCS and through today's teaching. So, I just wanted to encourage you to increase your desire for a strong foundation. Increase your desire and you will grow, and begin to inculcate, there's a $10 million word, inculcate these principles into your songwriting, and you'll be amazed at the growth that will occur. So that's where I'm coming from. This is what I want to bring to you through our podcast, our membership, our intensives, our boot camp. Everything that we do is to help you become this amazing songwriter that God wants you to be. So back to our teaching for today. So I started this article out with what I call an equation for songwriting success. Now, again, we're not talking about tips, tricks, and hacks, but there is an equation. It's not even a formula necessarily, because formulas indicate that you can just punch the right buttons and you get the results. And art is very different from that. Art is this amazing combination of everything that you've been through in your entire life, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, whatever it all is, along with your knowledge base, right? Anybody can be sincere about this. Anybody can be passionate about this, but your skill level as a reader, for instance, your skill level as a wordsmith, your skill level as a melodicist, your ability, you don't have to play an instrument. I mean, two of the finest, most prolific songwriters I've ever known, Claire Cloninger and Sue C. Smith, they're not performers. They're not musicians. They're not singers. But these ladies have written thousands of songs and have had amazing careers without even having to be musicians per se. They're both very musical, but they're not musicians per se. But so this whole art endeavor that we're involved with here as songwriters is really this amazing combination of your whole life. You bring all you are to your songs, and whatever you have or haven't had or done in your life, the education, all these things. So you don't leapfrog over those things. You just bring them with you. You start where you are and you continue to work on your foundation. So this is an equation, not a push button formula, but an equation for great song results. And this may seem simple to some of you, but believe me, a lot of people don't think about these things. They just want to sit down and emote, plunk out a little melody and call it a song. Well, that's fine if that's as far as you aspire to go. But if you want to go higher, you've got to lay this foundation, understand these things, and begin to work with them. So here's the equation. A great idea plus a great hook plus a great lyric plus a great melody equals a great song. Now, you notice that it starts with a great idea. Now, this whole exercise is about writing hit hooks. Often, an idea and a hook happen at the same time. sometimes ideas just happen. Like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we had a song about XYZ? And so that's an idea. Like, we are in need. We need a song about this. We don't have a hook. We just know the general essence of what it is that we want to say. And so we kind of start going down that path, aiming ourselves toward writing something that would fit this need, right? So that's could be a great idea. Wouldn't it be a great idea if we wrote about XYZ? Then the next thing is we need a great hook if it happens that way. But more often than not, for me, what happens is a phrase or something someone says, something I read, something I hear hits me. It's like, okay, wow, that phrase is a great idea. So they're just kind of born together. They're intertwined. They happen simultaneously. You don't have to work to go from the great idea phase to the great hook phase because they just happen at the same time. Now, that's a gift. If it happens like that, it's awesome. Always write down your great ideas, any ideas, even if you don't think it's a great idea, but it's an idea. Be thankful, acknowledge God, acknowledge the universe, acknowledge yourself, whatever, your angels, however you think about it, and write it down. Put it in your phone. Do something to capture that. And then you can always come back to that later. Now, let me just give you an example of what happened recently and how a great idea happened and turned into a song. I was at a songwriting retreat a few weeks ago, and it was a kind of a retreat where you draw names out of a hat and you co-write. It's a co-writing retreat. It's an invitation-only thing that was happening in North Georgia, and I was there. And so I was with two ladies, Val and Helga, and it was the first co-writing session. There were 4 co-writing sessions that happened during the retreat, and so you don't ever know. You don't know who you're going to be paired with. You don't know all of their gifts. You don't know all their abilities and whatever. And it's awesome. It's really fun. It turns out great. It's a lot of fun, even if you don't wind up with songs. But over 100 songs are written every time they do this thing. So anyway. So it was the very first session. We get into it, and the way it goes is that each writer will say, well, I have this idea, I have that idea, which one are we going to write? And then you choose one and you go for it. And an hour and a half to 2 hours later, you walk out of the room and you've got a completed song, right? And a lot of the songs from this retreat have wound up recorded and have become great songs. So it was the first session, and I wanted to pray, and so it's a keyboard there. So I sat down at the keyboard and just started kind of playing tinkly little prayer music, and I just started praying, oh God, one more time, we just bring you the burdens of our hearts. And one more time, we bring you our history. One more time, we bring you the things that we're dealing with. One more time, we acknowledge your goodness and your faithfulness. And I just kept saying one more time. And I didn't even know that I was saying it. I didn't realize I was saying it. I was just praying and playing and just trying to lead us into a sense of the presence of God. And when I finished, when I hung up the phone with God there for a minute, Helga says, okay, do you know how many times you said one more time? And I think we need to write that. And so we wound up with the coolest Southern gospel country thing. And I'm going to sing it for you, and it's just a cappella. But so Helga and Val, thank you for this song. So we wound up writing this song, and it goes, one more time, I'm gonna bring you my burden. One more time, I'm gonna lay it all down. One more time, I'm gonna hold on to the promise. Your great faithfulness can still be found. Every morning when I wake up in your mercy, every evening when I close my eyes, it's your goodness that I'm gonna believe in. One more time. Isn't that fun? I mean, it's so fun. Okay, copyright 2018 by John Chisum, Val Degas, and Helga Kafer. You can't steal that song. It's copyrighted by us. But it's just such a memorable chorus, right? I mean, you can almost, tap your foot, clap along. One more time, I'm gonna bring you my burden. So it's kind of fun. It's very singable, memorable, hooky, up-tempo. So there's a lot of things about that. So it was just kind of funny how that idea was flowing through my prayer, Helga picked up on it and we wrote it. So we grabbed that hook and that idea and fashioned it into what we believe is a pretty great song with a great lyric that's memorable. The melody works, and we'll keep you informed if we get it recorded somewhere. But that's just an example of how hooks can happen. And if you're not listening, then you're going to miss them. Saturday, when we were doing our masterclass for the NCS membership with Craig Adams from Lifeway Worship, he said some things, and I stopped him at one point and looked at the camera and I said, "Hey, you guys, I don't know if you were paying attention, but Craig just dropped about 3 hooks." The guy was just kind of preaching and talking about the topic that we were talking about, writing modern worship songs. And I can't think quite what the hook was, but I pointed it out to our members. I said, "Hey guys, this is a great example of how to listen for hooks in conversation. This is how you become a pro songwriter, is you keep your radar going. You keep the radar up and spinning so that you can capture these ideas as they happen." Okay, so that's just a little mini sermonette about that, because I think that the equation is often broken for aspiring songwriters. You don't start with a great idea. You don't spend the time. Listen to me say you don't, but I mean, if you're struggling with hooks, it's probably because you're not spending enough time developing the idea first, spending enough time. If a hook hasn't fallen out of your mouth or popped in your head, or you've not heard it one in a sermon or whatever, I mean, start listening, of course, but if you want to write great songs, you've got to start with a great idea or a great hook. And so I want to encourage you to start spending 80% of your songwriting time looking for great ideas. If you'll do that, then the quality of your songs are going to skyrocket. I think part of the problem is we sit down to write because we just happen to have an hour or two or whatever, and we're empty. We've not been resourcing ourselves. We've not been spending any time reading. And read the Word, of course, but read a whole bunch of other stuff. Listen to the Bible, listen to Christian music, but go listen to a whole bunch of other kinds of music. Read a bunch of other things. Watch great movies. Get into the classics. One of the times that I get the most inspired is when I'm listening to music. And it doesn't have to be Christian music per se. I personally avoid, vulgar, hip hop and stuff that not all of it's vulgar, but the stuff that is. If it says explicit on iTunes, I generally don't listen to it. But listen to great songs and great songwriters, and it inspires me. That's when I want to write, is when I hear what other people have done. Chris Thiele, who is a master mandolin player, and Nickel Creek. And when I listen to some of their stuff, I want to write bluegrassy mandolin stuff. And he's inspired me many, many times. But so, don't just listen to your favorite people. Listen broadly. Get out of your little box. Go listen to some things you wouldn't normally listen to, and let music begin to inspire you again, right? So I think that's a real issue, is that so often writers just think they ought to sit down and write ex nihilo, which is Latin for out of nothing. Well, only God creates out of nothing. We don't have that luxury. We have to fill ourselves up. It's like garbage in, garbage out. But if you fill yourself up with great things, if you want to write great words, you've got to be filled with great words. And most of the songwriters that I deal with struggle with their lyric. It's like, they can write okay melodies or really good melodies, but you know what? There's a lot of people who can write great melodies and do great music. There are not a lot of people that can write great lyrics. And that's why Claire Cloninger and Sue C. Smith and other people who are primarily lyricists have a career. So if you want to become a better songwriter, you've got to become a better lyricist. And the principles that I'm sharing today, I'm recapping and then sharing the final one today, of memorability, emotion, universality, imagery, and then finally today, simplicity. These are key principles for your songwriting as a lyricist primarily. Now, there are memorable musical hooks like da, what is that? Billie Jean, Big Queen, I can't moonwalk, but that's a musical hook. Or I'm not going to try to do Don't Stop Believing by Journey, but that's a memorable hook. Or Stairway to Heaven that we think about. Or what about na, 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 na. Right? What is that? Right? Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Right? So just so memorable. Or my hope is found. Right? Just very memorable, solid musical hooks, but without those being coupled with great lyric hooks, you'd still have half a song. So memorability is a real key. And you know what? Go back and listen to the podcast on memorability from a couple of weeks ago rather than me reteaching that. And then emotion is incredibly important, even in Christian songwriting, and maybe more so. I don't know, but whatever song you're trying to write, the primary thing you need to ask yourself is, what atmosphere am I trying to create with my song, and am I successful? And get other people to help you understand whether or not you're accomplishing that goal. And so emotion is just so key when it comes to capturing people's hearts, because people really listen to music with their heart. And people don't really listen critically. They listen for how a song makes them feel. If it makes them feel up and jiving, driving down the highway with the top down, kind of a Colby Calais gypsy vibe, that's a great record, actually. And, or does it make them feel melancholy and it's a rainy day and they're snuggled up, with the, what were those blanket things? A Huggy? Is that what they were called? The blankets with the armholes, and they just want to be cozy and melancholy, and so they turn on something or romantic, like Diana Krall. If you want a romantic Friday night with your loved one, then turn on the music of Diana Krall, because there's emotion that is evoked, through this music, and music is incredibly powerful. So Snuggies, get wrapped up in your Snuggie or Huggy, whatever it was. And for emotion, I use the examples of "You've Got a Friend," written by Carole King, made famous by Carole and James Taylor. I can make you love me if you don't. Just the pain of a one-sided relationship. Amazing Grace, which evokes thankfulness and gratitude within us, and on and on. But you got to think about emotion. And then universality. And one of the examples that I use when I'm teaching on universality is, and what that word means is that your topic and your lyric are appealing to the broadest number of people. In other words, for Christians, for believers, and maybe for other kinds of religions, praise and worship is important too. But for where we come from, the whole idea of gratitude or thankfulness or praise and worship, those are universal feelings. And so that's why praise and worship is so powerful, because it gives people the verbiage with which to worship God. One of the examples that I use is Meghan Trainor's All About That Bass, because her song, that's, of course, it's an amazing hook, so much alliteration, so juicy, all the A's, the B's, and the T's. Check it out. It's the perfect hook. It's so memorable. It's so crazy good. It's a great story behind that as well that I've taught in other places. But the whole point is that the topic of her song, over plus-sized ladies, that's a pretty ubiquitous topic, right? And so it gave the plus-sized girls and ladies an anthem. It gave them a song, and it's tongue in cheek. It's it's fun. It's bouncy. Whether you like that song or not doesn't even matter. That's not even what I'm talking about. But it was so broadly appealing that it just caught on. It made her an instant hit. I think it was 2014. And so universality just means that the greatest hooks capture something that is universally felt, known, or believed. And so that's why it's important for you as Christian songwriters to stay as close as you can to the big themes of Christianity. When you, the cross, the blood, the word, the second coming, name some more things if you want. But it's really important that you stay. If you want classic songs, if you want your songs to outlive you 100 years from now, Bill Gaither used to ask me when I would turn in a pitiful little song, he would say, who's going to care about this in 100 years? And, the truth is, well, no one. And those songs just kind of come and go. Even if you make a bunch of money on them, great. But as far as the song itself, I believe I have one song that's going to outlive me, and it's called "Oh Mighty Cross." And I co-wrote that with David Baroni. It's in a couple of hymnals. And he goes, "Oh mighty cross, love lifted high, the Lord of life, raised there to die. His sacrifice on Calvary has made the mighty cross a tree of life for me." Right now, you might not have heard that song, but millions of other people have. And like I said, it's in a couple of hymnals already, and it's got the same characteristics of "In Christ alone" or "Bless the Lord, oh my soul." It's got that kind of early American Celtic intervals going on in it. And so those kinds of songs, believe it or not, they're the ones that are probably going to last longer than some of the current hit worship stuff, believe it or not. Now, write it all, right? I mean, write all of it, but realize that it's those kinds of songs that are probably going to outlive you if you can accomplish that. So it's universal, right? That's what I'm trying to get back to, is that "Oh Mighty Cross" is about the big theme of the cross, right? So if you're just wandering around in this swamp of your own feelings, trying to express how crappy you feel like your life has been, and yet trying to bring Jesus into it a little bit, you're probably not going to wind up with a great song, So if you're just trying to emote and write your own feelings, this is what young songwriters do all the time. They wind up just, "I'm broken. Oh God, I did it again. Oh Jesus, I'm so terrible. And maybe you can forgive me, but I'm just horrible. Yeah. And they just kind of wander around in the morass of their human brokenness and feelings. And believe me, nobody really cares about that, you guys. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but nobody really cares. Now, that being said, you can redeem that pain. I'm not saying don't talk about pain. I'm saying redeem the pain somehow, right? I mean, journal, get therapy, grieve, do all the things that you need to do, but don't get mad at people if they don't want to jump into that pain with you, right? Redeem it somehow. Help people to come out of their own pain. And so anyway, that's a whole other sermon, but pain is universal. I'm not saying, people have made billions of dollars writing about pain, but we're Christian songwriters, so we want to at least do everything we can to redeem it in Jesus. And the next one that I taught on is imagery, and all these are past podcasts that you can go back and check out. Imagery is a huge topic that I wish that we could spend more time on today, but it's the difference in me saying, I got in a car and went somewhere. It's the difference between saying something like that and saying, I walked out of my front door 10 minutes ago and I was wearing a gray shirt and blue jeans and flip-flops. Then I got into my silver Acura TSX and I drove 4 miles from here to the Dollar General store. Well, you just saw the whole progression. You saw what I was wearing. It could have gone on and on. So it was imagistic. I gave you pictures because the mind and the heart think in pictures, not in words. If I said pink white polka dot elephant, you think that. You don't think the words, you think the picture. And so the more pictures that you can bring into your songs, the more people can follow it and envision and be pulled into whatever scenario you're talking about. So all of that is a recap. And I want to come now to today's primary content and talk for maybe 10, 15 more minutes about simplicity. Now, you guys, I think that this is one of the most underrated topics in all of songwriting because all great songs have deceptively simple hooks. I mean, think about stop in the name of love. Before you break my heart, think it over. I mean, how old is that song? Was that 60s? I think it was. Diana Ross and the Supremes, one of their first big hits. Or what about, I can't sing it, but Shape of You, Ed Sheeran. What about Slow Dancing in a Burning Room? John Mayer, great, great song. One of my favorite guitar solos of all time. Love that. Or what about Dolly Parton's I will always love you. I got to go for it. Will always love you. Oh, that's flat. You. That's about the top of my range. Somebody called Brett Manning vocal coach. But yeah, so what about those things? I mean, deceptively simple hooks, right? And so the greatest songs share that thing, that simplicity. And now the truth is that the more complicated an idea, the greater the need for simplicity. And you'll notice that the greatest teachers, these people that are considered deep, these people that are considered very, very effective in their speaking, they actually break it down to where we jokingly say, he knows how to put the cookies on the lowest shelf. And that's really true. And it's hard to do. It's difficult to do in songs, but the greatest teachers do it. The best motivational speakers, just for an example, they break their speeches into these little power phrases, right? These little pithy bullet points that are punchy phrases that are memorable, emotional, they're universal, they're imagistic, and they're simple, right? I mean, do you remember the info commercial? Set it and forget it, right? And so there's alliteration, there's rhyme, and there's instruction, and it's memorable. And I don't know how old that thing is. There's probably been 85 different infomercials since then that use that kind of thing. So it's something that we just need to pay attention to. And again, using alliteration in those titles and those phrases accentuates your message like nothing you can imagine, right? So the point of those phrases, it's our hook, but it could be other parts of the song. It drills that message into the listener, the repetition of those things and how simplicity is deceptively hard. You have to work really hard to get this simplicity there. Let me grab my guitar for just a sec, and I don't have permission to use this, so you guys don't tell anybody, but think about, let's see, let me go to a different key. That's too low, probably. Let me see. Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one who guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. You're my one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you, right? So it's simple, and yet the melody and that lyric work so beautifully together. It's a prayer, and yet because it's a rewrite, a spin on the old hymn, I need thee every hour. That's where that comes from, right? I need thee every hour. Precious Lord. I can't believe I can't remember it. No tender voice like thine can peace afford. Wrong key. I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior, I come to thee. That's where that came from. It's a rewrite of that hymn, which is that's another great thing. It's very, very popular. Craig Adams on Saturday talked about the whole trend. I don't know how many songs out of CCLI Top 25 are hymn rewrites like Lord, I Need Thee, etc. So what I'm trying to get back to is that Lord, I Need You is simple. And it's amazing because prayer songs don't always work exactly commercially. That one obviously did because of just the simplicity of the prayer coupled with that beautiful melody made it very simple and singable. So you can look at just about any song. I mean, even a song like "Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name, sing like never before, oh my soul, I will worship your holy name, I will worship you," etc. Right? It's actually really simple when you look at those words, when you look at the cohesiveness of them, and they stay with their one big idea. But it's simple, it's relatable. And I work with writers a lot through our different avenues, boot camp, etc. And the tendency is always to overcomplicate. And so here's the number one question you need to ask yourself to go for simplicity. Okay, ask yourself, do I really need this word, this phrase, this line in this song? And if the answer is anything other than absolutely 100%, you need to get rid of it. And so one of the greatest things that we teach people, that we teach songwriters, is how to think like an editor. You've got to become a self-editor if you expect to achieve everything that we've been talking about, but simplicity especially, because writers often will have 18 different ideas in their first verse. And so by the time you get to the chorus, you've absolutely confused your listener. They have no idea what you're even talking about because you've expected them to follow your train of thought from way back here, with your first idea all the way to the end. And by the time you get to the end of a song, seriously, I'm not exaggerating. You can have 20 different ideas going on in one song. So again, the first key to simplifying is asking yourself, does this line, phrase, or word really need to be in this song? And then pursuant to that, sort of along with that, is what we call the OBI, or the one big idea. If every line, word, phrase, syllable does not support the one central theme of your song idea, then you're complicating it. Then you are moving away from simplicity and moving towards complication. And so, ask yourself, how many people do I really want to enjoy this song? Because here's the deal, and I'm going to begin to wrap this up here in just a moment. The word commercial is not a bad word. Sometimes Christians have been like, well, they've just sold out. They're not even preaching the real gospel, or they've made that song. It's commercial. It's on the radio and it's watered down. Blah 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 blah. Well, honey, you're probably just jealous because your song ain't on the radio right now. So stop criticizing people. Stop wasting your time criticizing people, and just start writing great songs. Okay. But the word commercial only means that a song in particular has the ability, the accessibility that it can reach the greatest number of people. And that only occurs through all these principles we've been talking about, but especially simplicity. The truth is that most people in America, I don't know about the whole world, but any magazine articles, even books, all kinds of any kind of communication to people at large really has to be on about a 7th grade level. And that's just the truth. That's just the way it is. Every publisher I know talks about that very thing. And so when you're writing, you have to learn how to simplify so that you're not causing people to stumble over, well, what does he mean by that? Make this thing so crystal clear. So as we work with writers, we're constantly take this out, take that out. Why do you have those, 45 lines in a first verse when you don't need them, right? And the more fluff you have in your lyric, the less people are going to understand it. So simplicity is one of the critical, most vital, most valuable tools that you can have in your songwriting toolkit. So go back if you would like and check out. You can access it absolutely free. I don't work for them. I don't get a penny for telling you this, but you can go back and access this entire article about 5 tips, which I don't even believe in, for writing hit hooks. Go back and listen to earlier in the podcast if you don't understand that statement. But you can access this entire article at geartechrec.com, and you can also access much, much more of our teaching here on the Song Revolution podcast at our website, NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Join our membership for $16.99. Come to the intensive, and you guys just ramp up. Come to the boot camp, and let's take your songwriting to the world. You know what? I hope this has been a great episode of the Song Revolution podcast for you today. I hope that you've gotten some great content. I hope that you're encouraged. We exist to empower you as Christian songwriters worldwide. Reach out to us at info at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and let us know how we can serve you. If you've enjoyed this, go over to YouTube and give us a thumbs up, a great review, iTunes. We're on Stitcher, Libsyn.com. We're on Spotify right now. So you can check us out just about anywhere where great podcasts live. Hey, thanks for being here today, and I wish you a fantastic day in the Lord. See you next time.
Thanks for listening in today on the Song Revolution podcast. If you're wanting to take your songwriting to the next level, be sure to jump over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com right now to check out all the valuable resources that we have there for you, especially NCS membership, where you can go deeper into a community of like-minded songwriters and tap into encouraging blogs, videos, powerful masterclasses, and a whole lot more to get you where you really want to go. I'll see you next time.